What was the origin of the universe? It is an ongoing mystery that we try to unravel. Today, human activity transforms the landscape. City and country alike are shaped by the hand of man like works of art on a huge scale. But when did our ancestors take the first steps towards transforming the world? When did hunter-gatherers make the change to civilization? It all began with a tiny seed. In the first few million years of human history, dense forests provided our ancestors with abundant food. We depend on nature for our survival and livelihood. But in the early days, when food was obtained by foraging and hunting, it was truly a matter of life and death. In the struggle for survival, humans were not only hunters, but were themselves prey to large carnivores. Apart from these dangers, another factor that pushed our ancestors out of the forests was a changing climate. Approximately 10,000 years ago, the Earth experienced another ice age. Large herbivores, the main prey of prehistoric man, began to disappear. In the end, no large mammals remained to be hunted, except for wild boar. The need for a stable source of food became acute. On a sunny afternoon, with the grass and plants that sprouted after every winter. One such seed was a type of grass found in southern China, wild rice. Wild grasses such as green bristlegrass and wild millet were native to northern China. By cultivating these grasses, the ancestors of the Chinese managed to domesticate them into rice and millet. This could have been the origin of civilization.
农业起源是我们人类社会发展史中的最重要的一个阶段，这个转变呢，确实是意义非常重大。在农业出现之前，我们人类对自然而言呢是被动的适应，就是自然给我们提供什么，我们就获取什么，对我们生活基本需求来说。但是农业出现之后，我们人类就拥有了主动的改造与改良自然的能力，从而能够从自然中获取到更多的我们人类的基本生活所需品。
In 1993, a senior American archaeologist, together with Dr. Zhao Zhejun, visited the Xianren cave site in Wanyan County, Jiangxi Province. They were searching for the origins of domesticated rice. The American was Dr. Richard McNeish, a specialist on the origins of agriculture. It was he who discovered, in Mexico, the world's earliest remains of maize. He posited that agriculture began when humans still lived in caves. As soon as he saw the deep, spacious Xinhai cave, Dr. McNeish had an intuition that domesticated rice had originated in China.
他认为，要想寻找最早的农业起源的证据，应该是在洞穴遗址因为呢，我们人类由采集狩猎经济向农耕经济的转变过程呢，往往伴随着一个从洞穴遗址向平地遗址的转变的这么一个过程。另外一个很重要的原因呢，就是仙人洞遗址我们已经发掘过，证明了仙人洞遗址的文化堆积的年代在距今1万年前后，而距今1万年前后恰恰是世界农业起源的一个共同的一个时期。因此呢，马尼什博士呢就下意识地认为，他应该能够在仙人洞遗址找到有关稻作农业起源的证据。
2 years later, a joint Sino-US archaeological team conducted a second excavation at the Xinhai cave and at Yaotunwan. In the sediment deposits, they came upon a remarkable discovery. They did not find rice, but they identified rice phytoliths, which persist after the decay of rice. A special type of phytolith exists in rice leaves. The phytoliths, made up of silica, could only be screened with high magnification optical microscopes. Through analysis of the phytoliths, Chinese and international experts concluded that they were the remains of the earliest domesticated rice. They dated back about 12,000 years. The archaeologists were very excited about the findings. They also began to wonder, might they yet discover the world's earliest cultivated grains of rice from more than 10,000 years ago? In 2004, a joint Sino-US archaeological team recovered 5 grains of rice at Yuchanyan in Dao County, Hunan Province. These grains seemed to represent very early forms of domestication. They bore characteristics of both wild rice and an evolving primitive type of cultivated rice. Radiocarbon dating showed that they were from about 12,000 years ago. Today, we have started to explore the origins of the universe. But 10,000 years ago, it was hard for our ancestors to understand the life cycle of plants. Just when humans developed the ability to make connections and associations remains a mystery, but it enabled the ancestors of the Chinese to take the first steps towards transforming the world. With the first cultivated crops producing grain and the domestication of the first wild boars, an agricultural civilization unfolded at the start of the Neolithic age that would change the destiny of the world. The Temple of Agriculture at the southern end of the central axis of old Beijing. This is where the Ming and Qing emperors held ceremonies to welcome the farming season and to wish for an abundant harvest. Every year, at the vernal equinox, the emperor would visit the Temple of Agriculture with his officials to offer sacrifices to the gods of agriculture. Historically, emperors regarded access to stable sources of food as their people's most important need. Today, agriculture remains a key question in China's first policy document of the year. China has 1.3 billion people, 22% of the world's population. But its arable land is a mere 7%. In other words, China sustains a fifth of the world's population, with only 7% of the world's arable land. How did China's agricultural civilization emerge? How did the ancestors of the Chinese cope with a growing population in ancient times? The Ningxiao Plain in northeastern Zhejiang province. Thanks to its rich soil and abundant rainfall, it is one of the most densely populated areas in all of modern China. 6,000 years ago, it was this region that saw the rise of China's most developed rice farming. 2001. In Shanghai village, part of Yuyao city in Zhejiang province, just 7 kilometers from the Hemadu archaeological site, workers from a heat treatment plant discovered large quantities of tiles and clay pots as they dug a well. This attracted the attention of the Antiquities Authority. They had stumbled on a hidden space from 6,500 years ago. In the summer of 2004, archaeologists began stage 1 of their excavation of the 300 square meter site on Mount Tianluo. More than 100 days of excavation yielded large quantities of artifacts, including clayware, ceramicware, boneware, and jadeware, and every now and then there would be yellow specks twinkling in the brownish-black earth. But the specks would quickly turn the same color as the earth. The specks were the ancient rice that paleobotanists had long been searching for. They had been lying dormant underground for over 6,500 years.
如果把这现在的大米跟河姆渡文化时期田螺山遗址出土的大米放在一起做比较的话，可以明显看出它的这个一个形态有比较大的变化。如果用数据来描述的话，在田螺山遗址当中的大米是比较瘦长的，长度跟这个宽度的比是2:1。而我们现在的大米的话，应该说是比较粗短一点，或者说的白一点就是胖一点。这样的话，应该说是有这么一个数据的变化，应该说是跟这个稻米的驯化过程是密切相关的。
With 5 excavations and flotation of the cultural layer soil, the archaeologists recovered hundreds of thousands of carbonized rice grains. It's rare to find such large quantities of rice grains preserved in prehistoric sites. They provide critical evidence for studying the origins of agriculture. They also raise many questions. For example, how did the people of that time grow rice on such a large scale? the archaeologists noticed dozens of special bone tools scattered in the strata of the excavation. These spade-shaped tools were a critically important technological innovation in early agriculture. They look like a modern spade or shovel. Their main purpose was to loosen the soil.
这种工具对于农田的这个或者是水稻田的生产力的提高，现在看起来它的作用是非常大的。我们以前通常说，反映生产力水平的最主要的一个标志就是生产工具的这样的一种形态或者性能。而我们河姆渡文化当中的古寺生产的效率，我们也进行了一些实验的研究。 脚踩一下以后就更加快了啊！你看，这个古寺在现代的农田里当中翻土的时候，跟我们现在铁制的翻土的这种铁锹类的翻土工具，应该说效率相差并不太大。所以在河姆渡文化时期，能够在稻田这个翻耕的过程当中， 能够大量的利用这样的一种用水牛的肩胛骨做成的一种骨饰，对于当时稻作农业的那个发展，应该说是起到了很大的推动作用。
The discovery of a large number of bone tools suggests that more than 6,000 years ago, the lush lowland, with a warm climate, was home to a great variety of animals and plants. The ancestors of the Chinese worked hard on this vast land. They ploughed the fields with spades and shovels and sowed seeds. At sunset, after a day in the fields, they headed back to the village. Villagers ground grain and started fires to prepare dinner. On a typical night 6,000 years ago, clusters of campfires would light the sky. The evidence suggests that in the mid-Neolithic age, the Hurmadu people in China's southeast coastal regions had transitioned from slash and burn agriculture to rice farming, enhanced by sophisticated farming implements. Rice growing may have been the most advanced mode of agriculture of the time.
可以说，我们河姆渡文化时期的稻作农业的水平已经处在一个比较成熟的阶段，为我们良渚文化时期的稻作农业的整个作为社会生产的主要部门打下了一个比较好的基础。
The Liangzhu culture, a late Neolithic culture in the Taihu Lake region, dates from 5,300 to 4,000 years ago. This is a stone plough discovered at the Liangzhu culture site. It further accelerated agricultural civilization. During the Liangzhu period, the number of culture sites in the lower reaches of the Yangtze River increased dramatically, and they were densely distributed across the region. The rise in population was closely related to the rapid development of rice agriculture. Only with stable agricultural production could a large population survive in a relatively small area. New agricultural tools have been recovered at the Liangzhu site. Two examples are a polished triangular stone plough and a soil breaker. This cultivator is named for its resemblance to present-day ploughing and weeding tools. These advanced farming implements contributed to improved agricultural productivity.
我们有一个数据是这样的，到了距今4、5千年的那个良渚文化时期，稻米的产量可能，相对于河姆渡文化时期，可能会达到300斤左右。所以，应该说，距今6、7千年前到那个距今4、5千年前，这个河姆渡文化到良渚文化这样的一个发展过程之中，我们稻作农业的发展水平也是有了很大的提高。
The people of the Liangzhu culture are also known for their large-scale buildings and fine jadeware. The recently excavated ancient city showcases the elaborate planning and skills required for its construction. It was a mammoth project, even by today's standards. Highly developed civilizations required a large labor force and complex social organization and management, all of which required the support of a sound rice-growing agricultural system and abundant crops.
良渚故城的发现呢，为我们揭示了一个重要的信息，那就是在良渚文化时期，长江下游地区的稻作农业生产已经达到了一个非常发达的程度。这样呢，才能够为当时的社会提供充足的粮食。因此呢，我们通过这些证据来证明了良渚文化时期，在长江下游稻作农业已经成为了当时古代社会的经济主体。
In ancient China, the staple crop in the south was rice. In the north, it was millet. Millet was first widely cultivated in the Yellow River Basin more than 6,000 years ago. This weed, green bristlegrass, is commonly found in the fields of northern China. It looks very similar to millet, so do millet seedlings and those of green bristlegrass. When the Chinese say he can't tell the difference between millet and green bristlegrass, it means he can't tell good from bad. Green bristlegrass is found in many parts of Asia, particularly in the Yellow River Basin. The ancestors of the Chinese first grew it as fodder. Gradually, they domesticated it as the earliest type of cultivated millet. Millet was the primary crop in ancient China. Millet is often mentioned in inscriptions on oracle bones, excavated at Yinshu, the last capital of the Shang dynasty. The Xia and Shang dynasties are both known for their millet culture. In the Book of Fan Sheng, a famous work on agriculture from more than 2,000 years ago, millet is regarded as the principal crop of the 5 cereals. It still ranks first in Jia Sishi's 6th century Qimin Yaoshu, or essential techniques for the welfare of the people. Millet farming only declined after the Ming dynasty with increased planting of wheat and the introduction of corn and sweet potato. But millet remains important in the life of northern China to this day. In 1976, archaeologists excavated large quantities of ancient farming and living artifacts at an archaeological site in Xishen, in the eastern foothills of the Taihang Mountains. The artifacts included stone shovels for ploughing, stone sickles for harvesting, and stone querns and rollers for grinding grain. With carbon-14 testing, archaeologists dated these tools to about 7,400 years ago, the early Neolithic age. The subsequent discovery of storage pits amazed the archaeological world. The amount of millet excavated at this site exceeded the total recovered at all prior archaeological sites. No less than 548 subterranean storage pits were discovered in Xishen's 7,400 square meters. Remnants of grain, mostly foxtail and broomcorn millet, were found in 80 of the storage pits. The remnants were carbonized.
发现粮食那啥，发现粮食以后知道是粮食，一看挺纯。一出头的时候，有时候发红点儿，带橙色的，还有那带绿色的，它那发霉的啥，哎，到这个一干，风一吹干了以后，都是啥，都是乳白色的，都是乳白色的，都成粉末了。
Flat-based and straight-sided pottery jars and stands shaped like bird heads are typical of the Qishen culture. This pottery jar, 7,000 years old, was probably used to make millet porridge. Golden millet nourished the Qishen culture and the related northern Chinese cultures of Xinhai, Yangshao, and Hongshen. Millet porridge was a staple dish among the ancient cultures of northern China. The Xinhai culture pioneered dryland agriculture on the border of Liaoning and Inner Mongolia. Studying it had some unique aspects.
奥汉期的史前遗址，我们在80年代调查的时候，遗址的表面大量堆散着石器、陶器。那个时期啊，因为我们在调查时候，要是捡的话，一天能捡一车，这是毫不为过。因为我们现在目前我们博物馆这个馆藏文物就文物标本就10吨重啊，就是当时文物普查时捡到的。
In 2002, a Chinese team carried out a large-scale excavation at this site in Inner Mongolia. Flotation of samples from 3 Xinhai localities recovered over 1,500 carbonized seeds. 90% of the seeds were broomcorn millet and 10% foxtail millet. Both of these were domesticated strains. Carbon-14 dating by Peking University and international labs revealed that they dated back to 8,000 years ago, 2,700 years earlier than their European counterparts.
我们把新能够浮选出这些碳化的鼠和素，又分别拿到了日本、我们北京大学，还有个加拿大多伦多，好像是，同时监测，这个结果出来了，整个是监测的数据是一样的。新能沟浮选着的碳化素和鼠，8000年，这个一看了不得了。英国剑桥大学马丁琼斯来了呢，他认为奥汉浮选出的小米就是碳化素，传到了欧洲。
The archaeologists also came upon a unique grave in which a man was interred with pigs. The man in the grave was probably a clan chief. He was clad in a clamshell skirt and had 2 pigs to his right. It is thought that the burial of pigs with men is related to the use of pigs in sacrifices.
"他陪葬着的是一雌一雄2头野猪。8000年这个猪，我们取了 几个个体，在北京大学那个动物监测室吧做了监测，其中7具吧有3具猪啊不是那种纯野猪了。
一库手，二库手，三库手。
Pigs are important animals for the Chinese. In the character for home, the top represents a roof, and the bottom represents a pig. Pigs are docile and fecund animals. In ancient times, domesticated pigs were a secure source of meat. Domesticated pigs therefore signal a more settled life. In contrast to the bare terrain of the Lurs Plateau today, in the early Neolithic age, it was home to swamps and forests. Deer and wild boar were the most often hunted animals. They also became the earliest targets for domestication. The domestication of deer largely failed because of their fondness for roaming and their reduced fertility in captivity. On the other hand, wild boar with a higher fat content and greater fertility made for a perfect domesticated animal. Prolonged domestication and feeding shortened their teeth, particularly their molars. Boar grew similar to modern domestic pigs in their habits and appearance, making it easier for a household to keep them. Domesticated pigs became an important form of livestock. Pigs also became a means of communicating with deities. The remains of whole pigs or dogs are often found in the burial sites of prehistoric societies. Later, pig crania and pig mandibles were used instead. They too were buried in large numbers, particularly in the Yellow River Basin, which suggests that pigs were widely domesticated there. Many dragon-shaped decorative motifs found in Xinhai culture sites include aspects of the pig. A dragon's body with a pig's head, as here, or pig and dragon elements intertwine, point to the importance of the pig in ancient China. Apart from pigs, ancient peoples also tried to domesticate dogs, chickens, ducks, cattle, horses and camels. Many of these animals still provide us with meat to this day. Today, we think of globalization as a symbol of our time. What we don't realize is that globalization was already taking place thousands of years ago, with the movement of plants and objects across the world.
所有的这个农作物中呢，小麦是一个很传奇的谷物，是吧？我们都知道，世界上呢，实际有4个主要的古代农业起源中心区，是吧？而小麦呢，是起源于西亚农业起源中心区，啊， 西亚农业起源中心区呢，就是以现今的以色列、约旦、黎巴嫩以及伊拉克的一部分，土耳其的南部这样一块我们常说的半月形地带，是吧？根据现在考古的发现证实，小麦呢大概在距今4000年左右传播到了中国，并且呢逐步的取代了我们中国的小米，成为了呢我们中国北方。
5,000 to 4,000 years ago, all of the major resources of agricultural production could be found in China. There were the 5 cereals: foxtail and broomcorn millet, rice, wheat and soybeans. Dogs, pigs, cattle and sheep were domesticated. Phrases such as the abundant harvest of 5 cereals and the thriving of 6 domestic animals were in common use. The 5 cereals usually included foxtail millet, broomcorn millet, rice, soybean and wheat. The 6 domestic animals often included dogs, pigs, chickens, sheep, cattle and horses. The rise of agriculture and animal husbandry played a decisive role in helping mankind break away from a primitive society and in promoting civilization.
充足的粮食就使得我们人类社会呢，可以进行更细致的社会劳动的分工，使得一部分人呢脱离基本生活需求的生产活动，而从事更高级的一些社会活动，例如社会管理、艺术品的创造、手工业的生产、专门从事战争等等。而这些不同的社会阶层的出现，也使得我们人类社会结构产生了一个巨大的变化。这些变化都直接导致了文明社会的出现。
A settlement site excavated at Xinhai. Surface surveys revealed more than 150 houses, rectangular and partly underground, like caves. Arranged in rows running from northeast to southwest, they were divided into 3 clusters: east, center, and west. Research has demonstrated that the people of the village were already divided into different grades or levels.
兴隆洼文化的房子，每座房子的面积大致都是在40到60平方米。在整个兴隆洼遗址的基本是中心部位，并排2个大的房子，每座房达到了140平米。说明个什么道理？这间房子是非常重要的，可能就是这个部落一个最重要的人物居住的。
As settlements expanded in the late Neolithic age, the traditional clan alliances experienced intense conflict, both internal and external. With improved production technologies, agricultural alliances based on a primitive culture of clans gave way to state-based civilization. The emergence of nation-states marked a new stage in human society. The rise of agriculture went hand in hand with the agglomeration of population. the cradles of civilization in Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, and China, all developed in the basins of major rivers.